So welcome to today's Midnight training session. Today we'll be going over the orders module. In today's session, we'll cover how to search, edit, copy, and create new orders, to how to associate inventory and attach links within an order, as well as the creation of multiple versions within an order. While we're inside of an order, we'll be looking at some of the reports that work hand in hand with orders, such as our work order reports, invoices, and packing slips. And towards the end of our training session, we'll be looking at issue tracking and recording for profitability tracking and margin handling. Before we jump in, I want to introduce us to the admin module so that way we can see some controllers for various drop-down menus that we'll be interacting with during the course of today's training. To start off, we'll take a look at our estimate/orders module here. And within this, as we work our way down from the top, we'll see some choices, the first of which is the job progress. This is a status update method that allows you to provide a status to the job itself for relation to the dynamic job board in our scheduling system. This will be available on the DJB or dynamic job board and can be adjusted with each of its values and sort options, as well as customized. The choices here can be modified by clicking the edit button and renaming any of these choices to something that makes more sense to your preferred method of name or data entry. Alternatively, if you wish to deactivate or remove a choice, you can edit the row and uncheck the active checkbox. This will in turn hide the choice from view and make it so it's only available to be accessed under the inactive visual controller within the admin menu itself. And finally, if you wish to add a new status or a new instance to any area in this particular zone, you can control that by adding in a new option here. And then clicking the Save This button to commit this as a new choice. Now, in order to take full advantage of this screen, you can also utilize a search bar by modifying or adding data in the top row here. This will allow you to see information in a filtered view. For instance, the yes/no active filter that we just interacted with works for the activity status of the individual choices. You can also take advantage of the name columns or sort columns and fill in actual data instances to make sure that you run searches for exactly what you're looking for. Do be aware that the majority of the screens we'll be covering today and also in the future sessions will have behavior similar to this, so I won't explain this in every core module zone. But you'll see that this is a key feature for many of our different controllers, so just keep that in mind. Additionally, within the admin module's estimate/order list, we have some other choices that relate specifically to orders themselves. The order status relates to whether or not the order is considered active or inactive. This can affect things such as sales reports or open job reports. And it can also impact just general note information, so that way you can properly communicate whether or not a job needs to be worked on or not. The order version status is a little different. This interacts with the dynamic job board in such a way that we have a dedicated view designed specifically for the order version status that you see here. This can be an effective way for your sales team and your production team to communicate with each other without having to actually communicate with each other by updating the statuses of the job itself, so that way work can continue or the billing process can begin. The leftover instructions area controls options that can be designated for what to do with extra goods for a particular job. And finally, many of the shared areas that you'll see in here between estimates, orders, and even the customer or CRM list can be found within the tax codes and jurisdictions list. The estimate status, which when converting from an estimate to an order, will always convert the estimate to a 1 status. And also anything as far as the terms and conditions go, which you'll see both in your estimates and your orders based on what you default the customer record to. Do bear in mind that the key feature of the terms here in relation to the order handles more importantly within the accounting export process of Midnight, where these can be customized in an estimate with little bearing on actual data. The export process checks for the order itself, so that way if you're integrating an order within, say, QuickBooks or Peachtree, the proper date conversion is applied in your accounting system. Other areas of importance that you can find in here will be the issues controller. We'll see handlers for the issue status and issue types list modified under these areas. And finally, we'll see under the user-defined fields, 2 different order level UDFs or custom fields that you yourself can set up for your jobs. The order UDFs are fully customizable to appear under the Orders Detail tab. The order version information can be customized to show under the Orders General Info tab. The UDFs themselves can be customized with the label name, and as soon as the label name is added, it will then become visible on your order or order version screen. They can also be modified with a type of character or character set that it can be designed to be filled with, such as currency, text, or dates, which will prompt a calendar when clicking into it. You can also define a maximum character size, so that way you don't fill out a particular UDF or custom field with too much text. And finally, the copy and export functions, which allow the value provided in one of these fields to copy forward when creating a new order, or to export backwards when converting an order back into an estimate for requoting. To begin using one of these, simply start by clicking the Edit button, overwriting the user-defined field label name, and filling out any other subsequent information as needed. As soon as the label is changed from its UDF and then number instance to whatever it is you need it to be, it will then be available and can be hidden by deactivating it in the future. In our admin menu, we can also work our way back up and see a field for job types. And finally, under our global settings, we'll have some controllers for a few default features which function within orders themselves. To start, the information that you'll see in the address area and also the phone number area will relate to how your invoices display the licensee information or the name and address information of your own company. Additionally, the report logo will display on your invoices in a similar way. The email address that's populated here will be one of the default emails that's utilized whenever generating an instance of email back data. The edit order number field allows the order number of a job to be edited or overwritten. Where our system normally creates a new order number incrementally, you can use this to override that number completely, or to even fill in that order number with text or non-alphanumeric characters such as order 123-A and 123-B. The auto-deduct inventory trio of checkboxes here functions more closely with our inventory system, and I'll be going over it in greater detail during that session. What this does relate to is whether or not the inventory's auto-deduct features are enabled, and if so, what the triggers are. Additionally, here we have the display total services and tax and display CPM on estimates and orders. When these are checked, then you can see a summarized total of your your sales information on the main screen rather than having to add everything up manually or open a report to see that info. Finally, for a big one, the accounting integration button here, when clicked, allows you to pick your accounting system of choice. Assuming you use a software such as QuickBooks, you can control the default value information like your accounts receivable and payable account names, and some other order extraction info. When selected here, this will be the accounting integration method that our system uses to push out order data for import into your alternative system. Just be careful when setting this up and modifying it. Additionally, under the estimates and orders list, we have a few options in here which will correspond more closely to the orders. One of which being the auto update info on copy. When this box is checked, CRM info such as the address, shipping address, or tax information will be pulled from the customer every time an older job is copied. This is useful if you need to accommodate for a customer relocating, as updating the customer's record and then creating a new job for them will result in the automatic carry forward of that new customer's info. There's also the issue tracking auto email notification. When an email address is populated in here, then any outgoing emails to translate or copy or update information for issues is sent to the account that's designed and placed here. This email address has the convenience of conveying information to your managers or other key members of your team. So that way, anything that needs to be logged for issue tracking, such as a machine downtime or otherwise, can be alerted to the proper people as necessary. Finally, we have a couple of key features here in the middle that respond to and correspond to how methods of pricing can be enabled. The prepay checkbox, which allows an order to be exported out early or before it is closed. And two different methods of lock and alert logic. The checkbox here for display warning message when opening closed orders is simply just that, a pop-up that comes up to let you know that you're in a closed order and that you should be careful before making changes. Alternatively, the lock order after export to accounting system checkbox, when checked, makes it so that way only a user with an administrative security role can modify a job that has been pushed out into your accounting program. This prevents orders from being modified in midnight, so that way they wouldn't match whatever your QuickBooks or other accounting program would have listed for its information. Finally, although not key to the orders themselves, the reports button here brings you to a tab in which you can control a default BCC address and default email signature. Because Midnight does not store outgoing emails, it only stores a history of emails that have been sent rather than the messages that were sent. The default BCC here will function effectively as a backup or tracker to prove that emails have been sent out of the system. And assuming you have, say, a Microsoft Exchange server, you can set up your default PCC account on there to use with tracking of information that gets sent out of Midnight. Now onto the orders themselves. There are a few ways to view and access them. We'll start by entering the customer service module, and then with here, the orders module. By default, clicking customer service will bring you to the orders, but if you were to say enter the CRM or estimates, getting back to it can be done as simply as clicking the orders button. If you want to search for orders, you have quite a few different options here. You have different choices within the extended search pop-out to search for jobs by way of, say, date range of due date, close date, or just order date or date of entry. You can search for customer code information. You can search for other info like your customizable field data. And you can even search for closed orders by making sure this box is checked. After filling in your choices and clicking submit, then the primary search panel or the order search panel will be updated to reference only data that was added through this extended search function. The choices here can be manipulated as need be by filling in data here at the top of any particular category, so that way only relevant data is returned as needed. You can modify how the search filter options work by clicking the small funnel buttons and selecting the proper choice, such as contains, does not contain, or equals, to make sure that you're searching for the right info. You can also undo or remove all search options by clicking the Reset Filters button here on the right. And of course, in order to access an order, you can simply get into it by clicking the order number itself or the project name here on the right. Other ways to get into orders include utilizing the recently visited view. This pop-out when clicked, allows you to see the 10 most recent jobs that your specific user account had accessed. This means that if you were to log in on a different computer, maybe at home, and then again back at your office, the recently visited would reference the 10 most recently accessed from either location. You can also get into orders from the home screen if you have one of the order widgets available. For instance, my home screen here references the open orders list. In here, I can use this to see any order that's open in our system currently and access it just by clicking it. We can also create new orders from here. We can go into our quick links and select Add Order. Or within our Orders module itself, we can click the green New Order button to create a new job. You'll see that many of these fields reference what you see in the estimates area, and that is because the data between orders and estimates are often shared, especially when doing an export from estimate to order conversion process. By that, I also mean that it can be confirmed which estimate was utilized to create an order. If we enter one of our orders, we can see under the details tab information as to whether or not it was copied from another job or if it was exported out from an estimate. The information can be viewed here or here. And you can utilize the estimate export to create a new estimate from within an order by clicking the estimate export button here to be brought back into a newly created estimate, cloned from what we're adjusting right now. As far as the order screen itself, when you enter an order, you'll see the majority of the information here. blank if you're creating a new job, or pre-filled if you're referencing a pre-existing job. In order to get anything done within the order, you do need to have a customer selected first. There's two ways to do this, either by selecting it from the core drop-down module here, which can be manipulated by typing in new information for filtering, or by clicking the customer word to bring up a search filter, which gives you options to search and sort for customers in a little bit more of an efficient way. There's also, under the Quick Links menu, a choice for Quick Add Customer. This method will allow you to create a new customer from within a job by giving you a pop-out in which you can fill out basic information for a customer, such as their name, address, tax jurisdiction, and perhaps the sales rep or CSR that's associated with them. After you fill this info out, that customer is added to the customer choice here at the top left of the orders. Additionally, as far as order information goes, the info that you see up here can largely be defaulted to the customer record for quick access and entry upon creation of a new job. The sales rep, CSR, terms, taxable status are features that can be defaulted within the customer record, as well as the company, which determines the logo and return address info. The contact, status, PO number, project name, and then all of the dates here on the right are job specific and can't default from a customer's record. Now, the other criteria that you'll see in particular relates to the various tabs here. We'll take a look at these before we get too far down the line. The General tab references the service information, inventory information, postage information, and also some basic info for an order by way of displaying the order version info. Even if you're not using Midnight's versioning system, all jobs that are created in Midnight are considered single version jobs at base. Meaning that if you were to take advantage of creating any of those custom user-defined fields, the version info would carry that data into this list under the Info tab. The order level information can be found under the Details tab, with key info such as the user that created the job, the date in which the job was extracted out into your accounting system, the ability to convert it backwards into an estimate, and some core job level data that should be detailed or defaulted as needed. We also have the Shipping tab, which relates to the billing and shipping information for a particular customer's job. This can be defaulted within the customer record itself and as updated either by updating the info on the customer level or by just filling out new data within one of the contacts. Selecting them or selecting the copy, ship to, or bill to from CRM buttons will update the address information accordingly. You can also select multiple locations to be available for your particular customer, and those locations can be selected and picked through this area. We have an attachments list, which allows you to pick and choose various files to attach to your job. Take note that most file attachment options are available, such as PDF or doc files, Microsoft Word files. If you happen to find a file type that's not compatible with this list, then you can simply zip it and then upload the zip. It will, of course, shrink the file size, allowing for faster download and upload. And it will also confirm that your file can be attached. You can attach the file by clicking the Choose File button and selecting your file, either image, document, or whichever. Give that file a file name to reference in Midnight, and then click the Save button to attach it to the job. And finally, under the Versions tab, you can create multiple versions of a job or jobs within a job. I won't go over this process in great detail today, as I have a training specifically set aside for version handling. But do note that this is the management screen that allows you to either modify new versions, create new versions, or delete versions as needed. Back under the General tab, we'll always see a lead off with our Info tab, which references our order's expected quantity and the ability to update the core quantity by filling in a new value and by clicking the Update button. Give you the option to update pricing with your quantity updates as needed. There's also some other info in here, such as the version job type, version status, and urgency, which correspond to the scheduling system data that can be used to properly set aside time for your job's tasks. And an info comments field, which is effectively a comments field that will show up on your work order reports. The next series of tabs that you'll see are your various service type tabs. This is the same list that is controlled under the admin module for estimates and controls the services in which you have under your various jobs. After your service type list has concluded, the next tab will be the drops tab. When handling jobs that have multiple drops or multiple expected shipped dates, you can go ahead and plug those various dates in here. For instance, if you have a customer that has ordered 1,000 of a particular set of goods and expects 250 cents each week over the course of a month, you can set up the drops to reference 250 counts and then a different ship date and time, or due date and time as needed. Finally, as work on the dynamic job board is marked as completed, it will inevitably complete the drops data, making sure that your services fall off of your job board as necessary. If you only handle single drop jobs, for instance, just a basic or ordinary job, then by filling in your due date up here at the top, your drops tab will update with the according information. And in these cases, you never even need to enter the drops tab. The postage info references the stamps and different methods of shipment allocation, meters, etc. These can be added and tracked against the total amount of postage that will inevitably be due. And in this screen, we not only see our postage due, but we also see methods of payment that have been applied to allow us to track payments that are made against a job, to give our customer a complete and total balance, as well as an update for what they have remaining in escrow. The data postage tab is filled with basic mailer information, such as the permit info, mailer ID, or MID, and customer registration ID, or CRID. Basic package info, for instance, the weight and dimensions of a package that's being shipped for the completion of this job. And post office information, such as what's being mailed, where it's going, what post office you'll be bringing it to, that sort of thing. Finally, we have the inventory tab, which has two different ways of inventory addition. Either adding a new item via the Add Item button allows you to stick an item to the job. Alternatively, if you utilize our print calculator, inventory will be automatically added to the job as it's created. Additionally, while we're inside of the order, Various pieces of info here at the top in terms of date or terms data will trigger certain information or logical processes. The auto deduct inventory feature that we had mentioned earlier is controlled in several ways. Two of its three are controlled within the dates here at the top of the screen. If you have the actual drop/shipped date box checked, then when you plug in a shipped date, your inventory will be prompted up in front of you for deduction. And the same goes with close date. Now, close date, of course, will prepare an order for account extraction if needed, and will also mark any outstanding work as completed for a particular job, pulling it off of your scheduling board and production reports. It also opens up data within your sales reports to be displayed as needed, so there's quite a few reports that will be updated based on the close date. Lastly, in order for a job to show up on our production board, a due date is necessary. This implies that the job is a scheduled job and will intend to be completed. If a job doesn't have a date, then you won't see it on the board because our system doesn't know how to classify it as a serious job that needs to be done. Up here, we also have access to our reports, many of which can be found within this list in core modules or core referencing for what it is that you need. And the reports in this list can either be your standard ones that come with the system or custom ones that you created new. As you fill out data on our orders, our reports will fill out with more information accordingly. For instance, as you add services, your invoices and work orders will begin to reference correct data. As you fill out postage information, a postage prepay invoice may generate more effectively. And as you do other things like log labor against a particular job or assign inventory to a job, the job detail analysis report will update to show more and more information. We can take advantage of some other core features within an order by, say, copying it or deleting it by using the two buttons up here. You'd be aware that in Midnight, when you delete an order, it is still accessible within the system, implying that you can delete a job and get it back. You can, however, delete estimates and not get them back, so do be careful when handling the delete process. Additionally, if you were to just simply need to copy a job, then by clicking the copy button, information will carry forward for everything, such as the line items, inventory, and tax info, except for the dates within the system. You can lock down various features of that as needed. And all of that can be done within the admin module's security handler. But primarily, as you continue to do the work that you need to do, you'll make sure to have your security set up for your employees so they can do what's necessary as they need. Finally, within the job itself, you can do a few different things within the job, such as add a proof, which allows you to assign an image or file to a particular job and send it to a customer for approval. You can utilize the audit log to track who was in an order, when they were in it, and if they had made a change or not. You can also use the quick links here to add inventory to the order rather than having to add it through your warehouse module. You can define a group billing method, which is a custom invoice billing grouping system. And I have a training section more focused on this that is linked in your email. And most importantly in here, we can add an issue to the job. The process of utilizing our issue system, by selecting issue tracking, you can add an issue to the job. Issues can be tied to the services themselves, a specific department, or just be listed against a job. Issues in this case can be set to reference specific value amounts, like a credit amount for a product that was printed incorrectly, or just logging a cost for something like, say, replacing parts on a press that broke down. Details for the issue can be logged in the issue description and resolution as needed. And of course, a status can be set, as well as a close date to indicate whether or not it's being reviewed and whether or not it's been successfully completed and needs to be disregarded in terms of being able to just access under general circumstances. As you complete these, you can save and close them to commit them to the system. And if you need to get back into your issue screen in order to track whatever it is that you're working on, you can either get back into it from the search screen here, or you can simply access it by within the Orders module, selecting under the Quick Links, the Issue Search button. The other area in which you can access from this Quick Links dropdown is the Accounting Export function. In here, you can control different export methods for your jobs, postage, checks, or POs. And this is where you would handle the extraction process to pick and choose what goes out of Midnight and into your alternative accounting software, such as QuickBooks. One final thing I'd like to indicate and go over is the inventory's deduction process and how the reports generate themselves. As you add line items to an order, postage instances, or inventory records, the data on the reports will update themselves accordingly to fill out with more detailed info. The report's work order, for instance, one of our 5 standard work order reports, will open to show the majority of the info that we select, be it customer information and dates, and inventory info. We can also utilize the invoices to look at pricing information. We have many default invoices for you to choose from. And if we have postage info, then we can utilize a postage prepay invoice to prep over and send to the client for advanced payment on postage. Finally, as we have more inventory attached to the system's job, we can create a packing slip or a pull ticket to reference the inventory needed for the job and what to do with the remaining. There's quite a few reports in here, and they can be customized as need be. So if you do need modifications made to any of the reports that you see here to meet your internal requirements, do let us know in support, and we'll do what we can to fix them up for you. Finally, under our Reports module, we have access to quite a few reports that track order information, many of which are either the production reports, which are reserved for our scheduling system, or our sales reports, open order reports, and shipment reconciliation reports, which will track orders data based on tracking number. These orders, when loaded, will reference information that needs to be kept track of for sales and otherwise important information based on whatever the search criteria would be, customer level, day level, or both. This concludes our general orders training process. I'll go ahead and wrap up today's session. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.